welcome back to the Gogo Nihon show. And today I am back with Chris, and we will be talking about some things that you want to consider when you are choosing where to study in Japan. So if you're someone that's already decided that you definitely are interested in studying in Japan, your next task will be to decide where you want to do that. And we find that a lot of students seem to think that's a very difficult decision to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of different kinds of schools in Japan, and we recommend a lot of different types of schools. So today we're hoping to just make it a little bit easier for you. So I'll start off by asking, Chris, what do you think is the first thing that you should consider before you decide on a school?
Okay, sure. Pretty much I think the most important question for everybody that they need to ask themselves is, what the purpose is.
Right.
Why are you coming to Japan to study? Because I know I was a language student. I had my reason to, study Japanese. And, you also are currently studying Japanese,
Yes.
and you also had your reason to study. So pretty much the most important thing is really deciding, why. Why are you wanting to come to Japan, invest your time and your money to, study Japanese, essentially.
Right.
What's the purpose?
Right, and it's really important to think about, like you said, like your end goal, what you
Right.
want to accomplish from learning Japanese. And aside from that, I think another big thing that you should consider is like where you want to study, right? Like the location of your school, because we offer a lot of recommended schools in Tokyo, but what would you say are like some differences between, say, schools in Tokyo versus schools outside of Tokyo?
Yeah, so pretty much, I mean, everybody knows Tokyo is where everything happens in Japan. It's the capital. It's also the economic center and all these things. And that's where all the opportunity is in Japan. But at the same time, a lot of people don't know that as Japan is gearing up for the 2020 Olympics and all of these things, Japan is trying to be more globalized.
Right.
And because of that, they're making a huge push into, having people and all the signage in English and things like that. So by and large, a lot of people nowadays can get by with living in Tokyo without ever having to know Japanese. So that's one of the things that is kind of like
it could be a drawback.
Yeah,
right?
it's a very big drawback if you are coming to the country and to learn the language. So that's something you guys definitely need to keep in mind, is that if you are gonna be trying to live in Japan long term, find a job, and all of these things, Tokyo is the best place to do it. But at the same time, in terms of language learning, there could be potential pitfalls and things that will prevent you from actually learning the language the way you want to.
Right. It kind of comes back around to like, what is your end goal? That's why that's the first thing that you need to establish. Because, for instance, if you're really focused on just being able to speak Japanese and get to know Japanese people, and that's really your focus, as opposed to maybe getting a job in Japan, then maybe someplace outside of Tokyo could be best for you.
Right.
There are all kinds of things to consider. So,
I mean, there's always been a lot of discussion, especially online, in various forums, about where should I study?
Right.
So many people ask, where should I study? And I don't know what your guys' reasoning to study Japanese is. I mean, I guess that's like the first thing you need to decide. Why am I studying Japanese? Is it because I want to go to school here? Is it because I want to find work? Is it because I just need like a 6-month holiday in Japan, and maybe that's something I really want to do, which was my case, actually. So, once that is figured out, that really dictates where you should study.
Right.
Like, if you are, like we mentioned earlier, like, if you're trying to find work, Tokyo is the place to be, because that's where all the opportunity is. Of course, there are opportunities everywhere else,
right.
But Tokyo is pretty much the center.
Right.
But if you are here to learn the language first, like that is your main focus, that's where all the debate comes. Like in rural Japan, you have less English speakers, more chances to only speak Japanese, because there is no support in English anywhere in like the countryside.
Right.
So that's always like the huge debate. Where do I study? Is should I go somewhere where there's like no English support, or do I go somewhere where there's just more opportunity?
Right. As someone who lived in the Inaka,
yeah,
I feel like it's interesting, because like you can learn a lot about just like speaking colloquial Japanese. And now that I'm a student, I'm learning like the hard things, the grammar. It's just there's good points and bad points to each place. So. But now, since I go to Kai, I think one of the benefits of where I go is that they really have a good curriculum for like Western students.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that I really enjoy about where I go.
Mm-hmm.
If we go into like specific schools
Mm-hmm.
that Gogo Nihon supports, like for instance, Akamonkai. Let's talk about Akamonkai a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So, we mentioned in the beginning of the show, what your purpose of study is, and that's pretty much that dictates. It's like 80% of the question, essentially, of where you should study, whether it be location or school.
So, if you've decided, for instance, that you know that you want to live in Tokyo, well, first of all, hopefully our website can help you narrow it down a little bit, because we do have our recommended schools. There are obviously thousands of schools across Japan, but we do have our recommended schools, so that's what we'll be talking about a little bit. And I bring up Akamonkai because it's a really popular school, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely one of the biggest.
Absolutely. One of the reasons why this particular school, Akamonkai, is so popular is that, pretty much I think one of the main reasons is that it's the fact that it's one of the cheapest schools available.
Right.
Super, super affordable. And they offer a dormitory that's also really, really cheap. Akamonkai, if you guys go to our website, you can see that it's on the Yamanote line, which is central Tokyo.
Great line,
yeah,
for sure.
And the fact that it is the cheapest school available, plus they have a really cheap dormitory option, makes it the most popular.
Right.
But, that being said, we go back to the initial question, what's your purpose? Because, this particular school, even though it's super cheap, is not for everyone. And that's one of the services that we provide to you guys, is the fact that we understand the strengths and the weaknesses of every single school that we partner with. It's not, you guys aren't going to be lost when you go online and search language schools in Japan. You get hundreds of hits. I believe the last time we checked, there was over 350 language schools all across Japan, and you guys are going to get lost. So the best thing that we do is we are able to tell you, hey, look, Akamonkai is a great school. It is super affordable, but it's not for everyone.
Right. Like I think, like for instance, Akamonkai, it can be really good for someone who is like extremely serious about really dedicating all of their time to studying Japanese.
Absolutely.
Because it's their intensity that's so high, right?
Yes.
So if you're the type of person that wants an affordable school and you're extremely serious about studying, then that could be the perfect school for you. But like if you're someone who maybe is just now kind of dipping your toe into the water of Japanese and you're just getting interested and you want a fun overall experience where you're maybe learning about culture and hanging out with friends, then like you said, maybe Akamonkai wouldn't be the best choice for you.
Exactly. And that's one of the services that we offer, is the fact that we're able to tell you guys, hey, we listen to your purpose. We're going back always to the same question. What is your purpose of study? What do you want to achieve with studying Japanese? And then we're able to tell you, this school or this school or this school is the best for you because of reasons A, B, and C. We're not going to be, for example, if you are not someone that is looking for a high intensity, super serious school where you have to learn like 6, 7, 8 kanji a day or something like that, then we're never going to be like, hey, you should go to Akamonkai.
Because we have that information.
That's going to be a terrible fit.
Right. And that's where our student coordinators come in, because you can always email back and forth with them and they can give you a lot more information. We already provide a lot of information on the website. If you have any questions, you can take it that step further and email our student coordinators and they can answer any questions that you have. How about another school in Tokyo? How about another really popular one is Intercultural in Akihabara, right?
Yes.
So what makes that school unique?
Okay, so another of our really, really popular schools is called Intercultural Institute, and they're located in Akihabara. And one of the reasons, I guess, it's super popular is the fact that it's located in Akihabara.
I could see that, yeah.
And I don't, blame people for wanting to go there, because, it's a great place to live and study. So, that's one of the reasons why they're so popular. But, we recommend this school because they are, the teachers are great in the sense that it's a slower pace. It's a medium intensity school, so they are not focused so much on, hey, your face needs to be in the book 24/7. You need to just study. You need to memorize the kanji, so on and so forth. They are a little bit more, but but not completely low intensity. But that's one of the reasons why our students and the feedback that we received from this school makes it so popular,
Right,
because
I
it's
could see that.
way more, a little bit more relaxed, but you get value for your money.
Right. And I could see if you choose a school like that and you're more interested in maybe the culture surrounding
Hmm.
Akihabara, that'd be a perfect fit for you
Right.
because you have more of the relaxed curriculum and then you also have time to experience like Japanese
Right.
culture and things like that.
So I mean, I was a former student. She is a current student. We understand exactly kind of like the
The thought
questions, yeah, the
process,
thought
right?
process and what's important. Like we said, 80% of the question is what's your purpose? But then again, even though you have an end goal, you still want to enjoy your time
Hmm.
here. You still want to live where you want to live and things like that. So, we take all of that into consideration. That's why we still recommend intercultural, because, it's in Akihabara. A lot of our students are interested in otaku culture. So that's one of the schools that we recommend, because we still want to enjoy daily life to keep
Right.
motivated to study Japanese.
Yeah, because like if your spark of interest in Japan was, like anime and manga, and maybe that's what drives you to want to learn Japanese, then you might want to live in a place like Akihabara.
Exactly, exactly. And so we take all of that into consideration, because, I also took that into consideration as well. It's not just about study, it's also about how to keep your motivation up.
True, that's a big component as well because when you move overseas and you're living in a foreign country, you could get stressed. It's important to keep in mind like what you want to accomplish and what you want to move forward in
Absolutely.
Japanese with.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's exactly how you put it. A lot of us are planning on starting a new life in a
Mm-hmm.
completely different country. I mean, less so for me, but more for you, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Clearly. But it is a huge culture shock for a lot of people, and when people decide to learn a language and to go all in, they sometimes don't know the struggles of what
Right,
daily
what they're
life is.
getting
Yeah.
into. Yeah.
So, sometimes environment plays a huge role. And that's why I say that even though Tokyo is not as great, because there's so much more in like globalization happening at the same time, sometimes you want to plug out.
Mm-hmm.
You want to unplug from the grind, and sometimes you just need to, hang out with people like
Right.
yourself, and Tokyo does give you that opportunity to do so.
Right. And so if you're that type of person that knows that maybe you might get overwhelmed in that situation if you've never lived away from home and things like that, that's also things that you should consider when you're choosing a school because that goes into the element of how intense do you want it to be. Because you don't want to get into a situation where you're having to do this intense study if you know you're the type of person that wouldn't particularly enjoy that or you should consider really all these factors when you're looking through the schools that we recommend.
And I
Um,
mean, that's a great point. Because there are so many different factors. Everyone is different. My background is totally different than Haley's background, and that's exactly why our student coordinators here. All of them are former students or current students, so they understand, and we understand exactly what is the hard part, and not even just the hard part, but even after you come here to live,
mhm.
what can be a huge pain.
Right. Um, so another really popular area that people really want to live
Hmm.
in is Shinjuku.
Yeah,
So we actually support a school there, Shinjuku Nihongo
yeah.
Gakko. Could you tell us a little bit more about that school? Like, how does that school compare to some of the other schools that
Okay.
we
Yeah, sure. So first of all, we talked about Akamwonkai, which was like the super high intensity, great,
affordable?
yeah, affordable. It's great for people that are looking to uh, potentially find work, because they
Mm-hmm.
do have a business Japanese, like its own like tailored business Japanese course.
Right.
So that's really great for that. And then we talked about Intercultural, which is located in Akihabara. It's great location,
Mm-hmm.
great staff, all of these different things. And then we have Shinjuku Nihongo Gakko, which is also fantastic location near Shinjuku. And they're special because they pretty much created their own curriculum
Oh,
to teach to basically Japanese as a second language
right.
learners.
I find that invaluable.
Yeah,
Like it just that when a school has created their own curriculum,
right,
it just shows that they put a lot of like
right,
heart and passion into what they're doing,
right,
and you know that they're going to care about you as a student.
right. So I mean, it's really different, because a lot of these schools use very generic textbooks and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But I mean, that's not a bad thing, because
They work. I
Yeah,
mean,
you
they're
stick with what you
popular.
work.
Yeah.
You stick with what you work. So they do that. But, Shinjuku Nihongo Gakko pretty much said, okay, that's been working, but, we want to put that extra level of care. We want to really invest in our kind of like curriculum and our ecosystem. So they were like, okay, well, we're going to build it from scratch. So, they are really at the forefront of this like digital age as well. Like they integrated the iPad into the studies. So yeah, it's really amazing to see that people, even something so traditional as schooling, as Japanese like language schooling, is becoming more and more innovative.
And people are developing their own. It's really inspiring, honestly, that they would take on that challenge, especially when, like you said, they already have these like methods that have already been put in place and they work, but people are still deciding to like push the boundaries and like
Yeah.
continue making better and better work for the students to study. So
And not even just that. Like if you think about it, it's a great sign that if a school is investing in their own curriculum, that's a great sign that it's a great school because
right, they care about what they're
yeah,
putting out.
because they're not just dialing it in.
Yeah.
They're not just trying to get your butt in the seat. They're basically saying, okay, you know what, we want your butt in the seat, but at the same time,
we care about
we're going to
like,
take care of you by giving this method, this teaching method that is going to help you the best that they think that they can.
It also kind of signals that it's going to be evolving more.
Yeah.
It's not just a set thing, and they're looking at it and analyzing it and changing it. So I can see why that's a popular school as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it's a little daunting sometimes because people are like, okay, there's a standard, the industry standard. You use this book, this curriculum, this pace, or whatever. But of course, if you step out of the boundaries and of that envelope, people might be like, well, is that really effective, or is that really the right way? But at the same time, I think
it's really the only way to like continue growing.
Exactly.
Right? Like
Exactly.
doing that.
Exactly. And based off of our experience and our feedback from students, I think it's been nothing but really positive.
All right, so we've talked a bit about some of the schools we recommend in Tokyo. So if you're someone that maybe already knows that you don't want to study in Tokyo for whatever reason, you're more interested in other areas of Japan, another school that we support outside of Tokyo is ECC. So could you tell us a little bit about ECC and what makes that school special and why people decide to go to that school?
Right. So, we're gonna again go back to the topic of this show.
Right.
It's been the purpose. The purpose of study. Whether it be you just want to have a extended vacation and learn the language in Japan, like myself, 6.5 years ago.
Extended vacation, very
extended vacation 6.5 years ago. Or you could be more like Haley, who is really serious about studying the language and really wanting to develop her language skills. Or there are other types of people that want to learn Japanese and then move on to Japanese higher education, university, Senmongako. Or a lot of people that want to, learn Japanese, get the JLPT N1 or N2 to find employment in Japan.
Which is usually what you need to find employment in Japan,
Yes.
N1 or N2.
Right.
So
at a Japanese company.
Right.
Not at foreign companies.
Right. Obviously.
So, I mean, there's a lot of like,
things to consider. So many things to consider.
So many things to consider. But yeah, so, based off of all of those different kind of like subgroups of, purposes, right?
Right.
ECC is a great school for people that want to A, move on to higher education, and B, also want to find employment. And they're a great school because if you guys know anything about ECC, they are an educational group in Japan that is huge. They own vocational schools. They own one of the biggest English conversation schools in Japan. So they offer a lot of different stuff. And one of the great things about ECC, my personal favorite thing, is that our students that go there have every single opportunity, and they actually try to get ECC students to kind of like exchange with like the ECC students from their vocational schools.
Oh.
So Japanese students and our language students always like.
Wow. So that's, exchange. Like you said earlier, an amazing opportunity to actually practice your Japanese. Because, I mean, like you said, in Tokyo, it's very easy to get around just using English. But in that instance, you would definitely get a lot of like use of your Japanese. Absolutely.
And, that's some of the things that you guys need to consider about when you choose a school. There are schools that offer these kinds of extra services or extra opportunities. For example, like we're going to go back to the Akamonkai as a great example. Really affordable, super high intensity, great for if you want to find employment or other things because they are such a high pace. But at the same time, they are a language school. They don't give you the opportunity to kind of like exchange per se with Japanese students, whereas Japanese language schools that are, you know, part of other big educational groups, for example, like ECC and some of the other schools that we partner with, do give you these opportunities,
Right.
which are super important.
Yeah, especially if you're like really serious about being able to speak Japanese and not just study it.
Exactly, exactly. So those are the things that you guys need to consider. You know, of course, there's the purpose, but then also, you know, how you want to develop your Japanese. Is it going to be something that you just, you know, you put your head in the books, you do all of this stuff,
Right.
or is it, hey, I want to be able to converse, I want to be able to, you know, express myself verbally.
And especially go to higher education in Japan. That's something that you said ECC would be great
Exactly,
for,
exactly.
if that's your goal.
Exactly. So I mean, there are a lot of different types of programs that are available, but of course, you know, if you let us know, we're going to be able to advise you on kind of like which schools might be the best.
Right, like depending on your goals,
Yeah.
as we've said.
And also, one of the great things about ECC is that it's in Osaka.
Yeah, that's amazing.
One of my favorite cities.
Yeah. It's very different from Tokyo.
It's really, really different than living in Tokyo. So that's something that you guys definitely need to consider, is that not just the school or the education that you're going to be receiving, it's also where to live.
Which that's a big one.
Yeah, which
definitely.
we kind of touched up on, right?
Yeah.
Of course, there's the rural versus the urban life, but then there's also the different choices of urban life.
Yes, because Osaka's obviously also a huge city, but it's so different from Tokyo.
Yeah. I love it, so I can't. I'm a little bit biased.
He's trying not to be biased.
I'm trying not to be biased, but yeah, that would be my choice personally.
Okay, so what if a student was interested in studying in Fukuoka? That's another like definitely people from abroad know about Fukuoka and they've heard of Fukuoka and they want to live there, I think. So another school that we support is FFLC.
Yeah. So
in Fukuoka.
Right. So, you know, Fukuoka is one of those cities, especially recently, that's been really up and coming. There's been a lot more economic growth in Fukuoka. So, and especially Fukuoka as a city, you know, they feel like they're being a little left out. You know, there's Tokyo.
Well, there's the big players there.
I mean,
Tokyo,
and Osaka.
Kyoto.
Yeah, exactly. So there are a lot of big players, and Fukuoka's like, no, we're not going to have this like little brother syndrome right now. We want to compete. So they're actually trying a really big push into also globalization. And not just that, actually, some really interesting information is that they are making a big push into creating a startup ecosystem.
Oh.
So the Fukuoka municipal government is actually putting a lot of backing into people that want to start their own business in Fukuoka. Like there's an investor visa for, I believe, a year that they offer for really low. Like you don't even have to like invest that much. So things like this, a lot of like really interesting stuff.
Yeah, like you said, like up and coming. They're just trying all kinds of things.
Exactly.
It's an interesting place to be, I think.
Exactly. So it's a great city. I personally studied there for a month, and I loved it.
Right.
Great city. And FFLC is one of those schools that it's one of those interesting schools that we offer because, you know, they do, because they're in a city that's not as, you know, mainstream as the other cities, they put more effort into taking care of their students. For example, they do have more like job search support than other schools. They also, you know, offer, you know, a lot of different things. If you go to our website, you're going to be able to see exactly what the school offers. But, you know, I really recommend.
Love Fukuoka as well.
I mean, I studied there for a month, so it's been great.
That's another thing. So if you go on our website and you see a school that you think matches up with your interests, but maybe you're not really sure about the location, we definitely encourage just do a little more research about that location because there's something special about each school. And we've said great things about the schools in Tokyo, but you know, Tokyo isn't the only place to study. There are other places where you can actually get a great deal of use of your Japanese.
Absolutely.
So that's again, it's just something to consider.
And I might be a little bit biased, but I also think Fukuoka has the best ramen in all of Japan.
Hey, you know, Chris is the one that told me that Ichiran Ramen in Tokyo
is from Fukuoka,
which I didn't know.
Yes.
So
highly recommended, by the way.
Right. It's a very famous ramen shop in Tokyo. I thought it was from Tokyo, but I've been enlightened since then. And
The best ramen in
it's
Japan
amazing,
is
definitely.
from Fukuoka, hands down. If anybody tells you, they're wrong. If anybody tells you otherwise, they're wrong.
Okay, so let's talk about one last school.
Okay.
We've already talked about Tokyo and Osaka. I think another major city is Kyoto.
Right.
People are really in love with Kyoto, the
Mhm.
old capital of Japan. And one of the schools that we support there is ISI in
Right.
Kyoto. And so, I mean, if you haven't really like heard about Kyoto or what separates it from Tokyo and Osaka, you should definitely look into it. It's a
Mm.
beautiful place, um, and that's why I think ISI is also really popular.
Right. So, I mean, you guys definitely know about Kyoto. I mean, it's the old capital
Hmm.
of Japan, and it's probably one of the heavily visited places for
Yeah,
tourists
for
from all
sure,
over the
for
world.
sure.
But one thing that you guys probably don't know is that Kyoto is actually a huge college town. Actually, Kyoto is famous for universities. There are a lot of
Oh,
famous universities in Kyoto, and by and large, it's a lot of students in Kyoto. Actually, surprisingly. That being said, one of our partners, very good partners, ISI Language Group, they are opening up a new school in Kyoto. So they're taking all of their experience that they had in Tokyo and there are other branches in Japan, and they are creating a brand new school in Kyoto. And so it's brand new. The building is new, newly renovated, all of these things. So you know, I went. I'm gonna just plug it. I went to ISI, so I think it is gonna be really, really awesome.
and really popular, I'm
Yeah,
sure,
for
because
sure.
the ISI in Tokyo is definitely very
Absolutely,
popular.
absolutely. And really, like Kyoto is a beautiful city.
Oh, yeah,
Only
definitely.
30 minutes from Osaka, but really, it's
It's
the
its own thing. I mean, it's you can't compare it to Osaka at
not
all,
even its own thing. The people are different.
for sure. Even like it's so close to Osaka, but it's really like a different, totally different vibe.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it's if you want really like the traditional with the
Yeah,
modern mixing, like that
the
is this.
traditional experience,
Yeah, that's the city that you want to live in, and it is honestly, it's incredible.
for sure. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you about what you should consider
Hmm.
when you're choosing a school.
Hmm.
And I think we touched upon a lot of really good points.
I mean,
Hopefully,
yeah, I think what we want you guys to understand is that um, moving to Japan to study, or any country by that matter, or is a really big decision, and
mm,
we understand that because
we've done it,
yeah, we
obviously.
both made the same decision, but we really want to make sure that you guys understand what your goals are. Like goals, of course, are always ever changing. For me, like I mentioned probably a billion times during this live show, is the fact that I came here initially just to kind of like try it out, kind of float around and things like that. But my goals changed. So we want you guys to know that we understand that your goals change, but at the same time, really kind of focus on what you really want to achieve. Whether it be maybe finding work, maybe moving on to higher education, whatever it is. Let us know so that we can advise you on the best course of action. And then, keep that in mind because that's going to be kind of dictate what schools we kind of recommend.
Right, of course.
And then, obviously, when you guys tell us kind of like your personality and like what you're looking for, where you want to live, and all of these things, we're able to tell you, hey, look, this city is good, this school is good, so on and so forth. So don't worry about that. We are the
Here to
pros.
help.
Yeah,
Yeah,
here to
we're
help,
definitely here to help.
and we're the pros at doing this. So yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome back. So we really hope that you enjoyed our pre-recorded video discussing all the things that you should consider when you've already decided that you want to study in Japan, but you just don't know where. And I think we covered a lot of really good topics that hopefully were useful to you guys. And now we're live, so we are ready to address the comments that you guys have left us. And your questions. It looks like we got a comment from Becky Lynn. And she's saying that her reason for studying Japanese is so that she can teach, and that her dream is to live in Japan. And another concern of hers is finding a school, where to live, the cost, and she also mentioned that she does have pets.
Okay, so hi Becky. Thank you very much for your question. Pretty much, I think you're kind of split between two different things. essentially, if you do want to teach in Japan, that's something a little bit different. For example, if you come to Japan to teach English, you don't necessarily have to go to language school or learn the language at all.
In fact, I think a lot of the time, when companies in Japan are looking for a teacher of English, they would prefer you not to know Japanese, right?
Exactly. So, if your purpose is to really come to Japan and, your passion is teaching and things like that, then, you don't necessarily have to know Japanese.
Just so you know.
Yeah, just so you know. Of course, they're learning Japanese is really going to help you, with anything else
about living in Japan.
Exactly.
Right.
About
pretty much aside from teaching English.
Exactly. Aside from work, that's the thing that's going to help you the most in order to, live daily life, or, if you want to transition out of teaching, that's where Japanese language is going to come into play. So, in terms of just teaching, language is not going to be that big of a concern for you, but of course, for anything beyond that, that's where you need to kind of think about whether or not you want to learn the language or not.
Right, but if you're very serious about moving to Japan and bringing your pet, we actually did film a live show discussing that, because I brought my pet from America to Japan. So if you're interested in that topic, please refer to that other live show, and we'll link it to you in the comments after this.
Great.
After this broadcast. The next question is from Leonie.
Mm-hmm.
Hope I'm pronouncing that right. And Leonie. And so it looks like you're interested in learning Japanese so that you can learn about washoku,
mm-hmm.
and so it sounds like you know a little bit about it,
mm-hmm.
and Japanese cooking as well as sushi.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, if you're interested in maybe just getting a feel for what it's like to study that kind of thing in Japan, we actually do have a Taste of Japan study trip,
mm-hmm.
and we'll provide you the link to that as well for more information about that. So we actually do help some students to learn more about that topic as well.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of people kind of, they worry too much about kind of what they want to do with the language first. Like, there's a lot of people that they say, oh, I'm interested in animation, so I want to do animation, or I'm interested in food, I want to do food. But people need to realize, I think you guys watching need to really keep in mind that, learning the language, regardless of where you kind of learn it, is going to be the most basic thing that you do that helps you build upon where you want to be in the future. So, whether it be you want to learn about cooking or food, or whether it be about, fashion, animation, and things like that, that's the step you need to take after you learn Japanese.
Right. I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
Now, we've got another question from Alex. He's asking, what would be the best choice for a complete beginner who really wants to experience everything in terms of education and culture? And he's also wondering, what do I get after I learn Japanese?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we were talking about this earlier, so I think that
mm-hmm.
probably an important point that you want to consider when studying Japanese is that you're at a more low-intensity school. If you're an absolute beginner and you absolutely no Japanese, then you don't want to find yourself in a situation where all of this language learning is being hurled at you. I mean, you don't want to get overwhelmed, because especially if you're living in a foreign country, then we would recommend a low-intensity school. Of course, that's something that's your choice, and we discussed that in the previous clip about it all comes back to your goals.
Mm-hmm. I think,
right.
I think, Alex, I think the biggest thing that you need to keep in mind is that, you are a complete beginner now, but let's say you do apply for a school, you apply for the visa and all of these things, that entire process takes about, like 4 to 5 months. And even before you come and start your school, you don't have to be a complete beginner. And actually, we don't recommend that you just, sit there and just anticipate your move and then start studying. We highly recommend that you learn at least hiragana and katakana before you come. And
it's totally doable,
yeah,
honestly.
And we definitely think you should absolutely do this, because when you come to Japan to study Japanese, in the first week, they expect you to learn hiragana and katakana. They hit you with it right off the bat. I think
mm-hmm.
when I first started studying Japanese in the US, I went to community college, and I think we spent about 3 weeks covering hiragana and katakana. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, it took us like 3-4 weeks to cover hiragana and
mm-hmm.
katakana. And in Japan, they do that in the first week. And that, coupled with the fact that you're living in a new country and all of this other stress that you might be experiencing, don't come to Japan with a mindset that you are gonna be able to learn from complete scratch on day one.
Right.
You need to prepare yourself and give yourself all of the tools and the
and
time.
the best chance to
Exactly.
be able to.
Exactly. So really, really don't think about that. Hey, coming to Japan is gonna somehow turn me into a Japanese guru. That's not the case. You know, you got to put in the work. You got to put in the time to do that and set yourself up for success. And actually start studying now. You know, nothing's stopping you from going online, watching a YouTube video, downloading some apps to start studying. So really get that done, start doing that now, and then apply to our program, and then we'll take you to the next level.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. So the last comment that we have for now is someone wondering if we have 2-week courses available in the summertime, and yes, we do. We have study trips available, and they're so much fun, so I think you'd love them if you check them out, and we'll go ahead and give you that link as well. We have all kinds of different activities for you to partake in, and something that I want to let you guys know is that the next live show that we'll be doing next week is going to be about a different kind of study trip. It's different because it has an optional study element to it. So until this point, we've always had study just included in the package, and we're actually going to be offering something that's an optional study. So if you're very interested in coming to Japan and experiencing maybe the culture and the food, but you're not necessarily wanting to like dive into language learning, then I think that'd be perfect for you. If you're interested in it, definitely check out next week's live show.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, so we actually have another question.
Oh, do we?
Yes. I do not know how to pronounce this name. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I see.
I'm not even going to try.
Well, you'll know when we read your question.
So, Nihon Kogakuin, your goal is to
Right.
go to the 4-year course in animation. Is it better to go to the language course or not? Actually, our last live show from last week
Talked all about
talked
that.
all about Nihon Kogakuin. We're going to include the link below. Check out that show, but pretty much the gist of it is, you know, going to the language school is going to prepare you the best for their program.
Exactly.
But definitely, we had a great show last week. Please check it out. We're going to include the link down below for you.
Yes, Davide talked a lot about that. A lot of really useful information. And aside from that, we also want to let you guys know about our upcoming conventions that we'll be attending. So we have 3 big ones coming up.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of you guys want to, you know, meet us in person, talk to us, be.
And we want to meet you.
Yeah, and we want to
course.
meet you guys too. So, you know, we have some awesome conventions coming up that we're going to be attending. The first one is going to be in Los Angeles at Anime Expo, July 1st to the 4th. I will be there,
You'll be
so
there.
I'm going to be really looking forward to, you know, talking to you guys there. We are also going to be having a presentation at Anime Expo on July 4th. So please check us out. Come to our booth. Talk to us. You know, I'm going to be there to give you guys a lot of information.
Yeah, it's a really good chance to just get to know us and see what our company is really all about in person, and talk with us and let us answer any questions you have. So after Anime Expo in LA, we have Hyper Japan in London, and that convention is from July 14th through the 16th, so we'll also be there. Keep an eye on our Facebook page, and we'll update you guys when we get closer to that date about the details. And after that, another major one we have in July is Narcon Summer in Sweden, and that one is July 27th through the 30th. So we're so excited to meet more of you guys in person, and so if you're attending those conventions, definitely come see our booth.
Yeah,
We'd
and
love to see
at
you.
those conventions, you know, we're going to be giving you a ton of information. We are also going to be giving you some awesome swag.
Swag.
Yeah, everybody likes free swag. Going to be giving out, like, for example, these stickers or some other type of stickers and some goodies. So please come by, say hello. We love to hear feedback from you, and, you know, pretty much anything else that you guys want to ask us.
For sure.
You know, we do these live videos so that, you know, you can see who we are and ask us questions and get more information. But of course, if we can see you in person, that'd be also really incredible.
Definitely. So we really, really hope that this show gave you guys more information about what you should consider when you're choosing a school. If you have more questions, definitely leave them down below. And this video, like all of our other shows, will be posted on YouTube after this. So for future reference, it'll always be there. And we hope you tune in next week. Thank you guys for watching.
All right.
Bye.